Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. In The Guardian today, there's a headline that says Wales is preparing to introduce a visitor's charge for people who stay there overnight. For those of you who don't know, Wales is one of the four nations of the UK. We have England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. I tend to think of Wales as one of the less popular destinations. I've never heard anyone saying they're going to Wales for a holiday, but I'm sure it is quite popular because it says here they'll be introducing a visitor's charge and that it could raise a lot of money. So we're going to read through this story. And there's a lovely picture here of the sea, which apparently is in Wales. I have to say that the images I have of Wales tend to be rather depressing, of coal mines which no longer operate, and of course the young people with huge unemployment issues and drugs, the same as other impoverished parts of the UK. But I'm also sure that Wales has some lovely places and things to offer. So let's go through this story. It says here, people who stay in Wales overnight, including children, are set to be charged a visitor levy under a scheme that could raise up to £33 million a year, which would be ploughed back into tourism and culture. To plough is the verb we use when the farmer is digging up the land. You know, he takes the tractor and he has a little machine that is digging up the land for him. That is called a ploughing machine. He's ploughing the land to plough. So he's basically turning the soil over, ready for the new plantings which are going to take place. We use that as a metaphor here to say that money would be ploughed back into tourism and culture. So taken out on one hand from people and put back in on the other. It says here, all visitors would be charged 75 pence a night to stay in campsites and hostels, and £1.25 for all other accommodation, including hotels, bed and breakfast, and holiday lets. Well, that's cheap, isn't it? Only £1.25. I know if you land in Spain or the Netherlands, you're charged quite a few euros, as far as I know. But yeah, £1.25. So it says here, a new law giving local authorities the option to introduce this came to the Welsh Parliament yesterday, and it won't be coming into force until 2027 at the earliest. It's not been agreed yet, but if the local authorities do introduce it, they're saying it will generate £33 million a year. And they're saying here that its tourist areas are very keen that it's brought in. There's going to be a registration system for all hotels. They'll all be required to register. Let's see, many tourist businesses in Wales have criticised the idea, arguing it will add an extra burden for them because they'll have to report it, of course. But the government is arguing that it will be a very simple scheme and they'll have plenty of time to prepare. Let's see, a government spokesman said, we have small towns in Wales where a population of a few thousand in the winter becomes tens of thousands in the summer. Sorry, but I find that rather hard to believe. But anyway, and that inevitably does put pressure on local facilities which at the moment have to be paid for entirely by that much smaller number. Really? They have tens of thousands of people flocking to Wales. Well, they might actually be Welsh people who are moving around, but I wouldn't have thought many people would be heading over there when they can go abroad. I don't know, but it does seem rather strange. It says here, if this goes ahead, it will the government will be able to use the money to boost the Welsh language. Yeah, that's a good idea. Welsh is a little bit like Scottish Gaelic. It's declining and they're trying hard to keep it alive. Many people do speak it over there, whereas in Gaelic Scotland there aren't too many people around. It says here, in some parts of Wales, the language is the reason that people visit. Yeah, I can understand that. It says here, people visit not just for the physical fabric, no, indeed, but for the cultural component as well. It says here, you come to Wales, you're coming to a different place, and the language and the culture is part of what makes it attractive. Keeping the character of the area, as well as the physical fabric, is part of what local authorities would be able to use the money they would have collected to do. So it sounds like a nice idea, doesn't it? It says here, this is the First Minister of Wales. I think his name is Mark Drakeford, I think. It says here, he did not believe the levy would make Wales unwelcoming. He says, this is something that is happening around the world, so we're at the leading edge of a policy. Really? Wales? When's the last time you heard anyone say, oh, I'm going to Wales for my holidays? I'm sure there are some people, but tens of thousands of people going to villages, maybe for music festivals, perhaps. It says here, there will be exceptions. Homeless people staying in holiday accommodation arranged for them by local authorities will be exempt. And those with disabilities travelling with a carer will be eligible for a refund. And anyone staying more than 31 nights won't have to pay. That doesn't sound right. So if you're homeless, they're saying that you'll be exempt. So what if you're Welsh then? Do you still have to pay this? It says here, people who stay in Wales overnight. That sounds like it's going to be anyone who goes to a hotel, including Welsh people, doesn't it? I don't know. It's kind of unclear. Yeah, I mean, if the exceptions are homeless people and those with disabilities, it sounds like Welsh people have to pay this as well. Well, that's certainly how they'll get their money. That makes more sense because I wouldn't imagine they'll get so many tourists, would they? And how would they check? I mean, do they ask for your name and address? Oh, do you live in Wales? Are you from outside? So I suppose they would have to charge everyone, wouldn't they? Because you could end up saying, well, actually, I live in Wales, but really I'm Spanish. I have a Spanish passport, but here's my address to prove I live in Wales. The argument would just go on and on. So it looks like it's going to be for everyone. Oh, interesting. They don't have that in other parts of the UK yet. I know that the Scottish government are looking at introducing some kind of tourist tax for some of our cities. But I think that would be taken at the airport. I don't know how they would do that. But then if you're a tourist coming north, how would you do that? Yeah, it seems a little bit unworkable. So to apply it to everyone makes perfect sense. And to use that to promote the Welsh language. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Speaking of Wales, that's another place that is looking at independence. They voted in a government which has more independent ideas. I think across the Four Nations, more and more people want to be separated from London. Even in Northern England, they're not very happy because it looks like the money, the power, the businesses, they all seem to be in London. So more and more people around the Four Nations, they don't want to be associated with England. There's more of a pride now about your nationality and where you come from. It's very sad. I mean, I have to say, when I go on holiday or if I'm traveling, I don't tell people I'm British. Well, unless, of course, I'm in trouble, in which case I immediately wave my British passport and say, help, I'm British. Anyway, getting back to the subject of Wales, there is a song about Welsh mining that came out in the 1980s by someone called Rita McNeil. Now, just to complicate matters, Rita was actually Canadian, Scottish Canadian. So basically, her family immigrated from Scotland to Canada some years ago. She grew up in Canada speaking Gaelic, which is the Scottish Indigenous language, which some people claim more people speak in Canada than they do in Scotland. I think that's an urban myth. I don't think that's true. Anyway, she sang a song about Welsh mining. A bit strange considering she's not Welsh, but if you do want to rush out and listen to her on YouTube, it's a lovely song, but incredibly sad. So we're going to read her lyrics today, since Wales is about to introduce a visitor's charge. Let's see. So she says, Rita tells us, it's a working man I am, and the name of the song is Working Man. So she says, it's a working man I am, and I've been down underground, because she's singing with miners in this song. Miners meaning the people who mine for coal. They don't do it anymore. We don't use fossil fuels anymore, apparently, but they did. So it's a working man I am, and I've been down underground, and I swear to God, if I ever see the sun, or for any length of time, I can hold it in my mind, I never again will go down underground. It's a very sad song. I like Rita with her song. She's dead now. Nice woman. She was always on TV with this song. And then Rita tells us she's singing about a miner. Okay. At the age of 16 years, he quarrels. It just means argues with his peers, with his fathers, your peer, who promised, they'd never see another one. Another what? Let's see. At the age of 16 years, he fights with his fathers, quarrels with his peers, who vowed they'd never see another one. I guess they're talking about mines. In the dark recess of the mine, where you age before your time, and the coal dust lies heavy on your lungs. Yeah, well, that was the way it was. Even when I was growing up, you had a choice. You either worked in the steelworks, you were sent to the local furnace, and that's where you worked. Or in some parts of the UK, you were sent into the mines, and you died an early death because of that. Very sad, very sad. I think my great-grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, yes, was a miner. And then Rita tells us again, it's a working man I am, and I've been down underground, and I swear to God, if I ever see the sun, for any length of time, I can hold it in my mind, I never again will go down underground. And then she tells us, at the age of 64, he'll greet you. To greet is to welcome you. He'll greet you at the door. He'll gently lead you by the arm Through the dark recess of the mines, he'll take you back in time and he'll tell you of the hardships that they had. It was incredibly industrial, and they obviously struggled to move away from mining into the digital age, just as the rest of the UK had. So, yeah, if you get the chance, listen to Rita McNeil, singing Working Man. Tragic song. She tells us about a young man of 16 years. Yeah, I know that I had an aunt. When I say an aunt, I mean not a direct aunt. I think it was my great grandmother's daughter. So it was my grandfather's aunt. Be my great grandfather's sister. Yeah, my great grandfather's sister was called Maggie McTaggart. She went to work one day and her breast was caught in one of the machines, and she developed cancer and sadly died. In those days, of course, cancer was a very serious thing. Absolute tragedy. So there we are. That's the story of Maggie McTaggart. I think she died in 1920. I think it seems like yesterday. I mean, I wasn't alive then, of course, but it was my grandparents' generation. Right, so go and listen to Rita McNeil, and if you are visiting Wales in 2027 onwards, expect to be charged, although by that time we probably all will be living very different lives, I think. Okay, that's it. See you all. Bye.